The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Well, good morning, everyone. I wanted to welcome everyone to the first Kentico user group, online user group. My name is Tom Robbins. Joining me is Martin, who's the CTO of Kentico Software. Thanks, everyone, for attending this. Just to give you a little bit of background, one of the things that we really want to do is create a much broader user community around Kentico Software and its usage. So we will be presenting once a quarter a Kentico user group online to make sure that we get as much information out to everyone as we can. One of the bits of feedback that I'd love to hear is what kind of information you would like to hear in these sessions. You can feel free to send me an email or feel free to Twitter us and let us know your thoughts around the different things that you'd like to hear. So that we don't spend too much time, I'd like to turn it over to Martin, who's going to present his top 5 for Kentico CMS 5.0. Martin?
Sure. So thank you, Tom. Hello, everybody. This is Martin, and I would like also to welcome you in this session. I think most of you know me already from my webinars, but just for the rest, I am Martin Hejtmanek. I am CTO in Kentico Software, and I didn't prepare many slides on my presentation because I want to show you basically everything online, how it works, how you set it up. So we basically start from scratch from our standard sample websites and build on them. So let's start. Here's a list of some main new features in version 5.0. I listed some of them, not all of them, because there's many more. You can see the full list on the version history page on kentico.com. You can see the URL at the bottom of this slide. And I wanted to point it out that basically not all these features are something that you can see some things are more performance improvements. So there are features that you usually do not see, or you can see them only under some circumstances if you use some special settings. So this is why some of these features mentioned today won't be really features presented by marketing and on the feature list, but some important possibilities of our solution. You probably noticed that the main change that you can see is the new design of Kentico interface of the entire Site Manager and CMS desk. We did this so it looks more modern, and basically you can present it better to your clients. But it's not really a functional feature. Then there are some usual new modules. Basically, each version is done with few modules and few other improvements. Here in the version 5.0, the new modules are the widgets, which basically allow you to modify, allow the visitors to modify what they see, what parts of the page they have available. Then there is UI personalization feature where basically the editors can select what or admins can select what their editors can see in the UI. The new media library UI doesn't bring much new functionality, but it makes media library more consistent with new dialogues. Of course, there are some improvements in performance as always. This time we focused on the scalability of the entire solution, so you can basically see some modified user interface with new selectors, and the overall performance of the UI is better. The next large feature is, for example, smart search in forums, which is very useful on live site, and some smaller changes like time zone support in CMS desk. And for those who are using Windows authentication, there's also an ID import utility to just make your work easier. But this webinar is basically about my top 5 features. So I needed to somehow say which criteria I will use to rate them somehow. So basically I chose 3 main criteria because I believe each of you may decide based on different criteria what is important. So here is the main criteria I think it's useful. The first one is I rate the features based on what is the overall value of the feature. I mean, some features, they may look nice, they may be good for marketing reasons, but what makes feature a really good and useful feature is the overall value you can get with it. So, if you change image, it's not really a value, it's just the design. The next criteria I chose is how much time it can save you as a developer. Because, I am developer, I'm technical guy, so this is what I care about. If I look at features, I say how much time it would cost me to make something like that on my website, and if it is out of the box, I get it out of the box, and I do not spend any time on it, so I can save that time. So that's the second criteria. And the third one is basically from the users point of view, and the criteria is how many people are using it, how many people it affects. There are different groups of people. There's some admin which sets permissions, does the development. It can be site designer, some person who is behind the site. Then there are editors who actually care about the data of the site. They enter news, products, things like that. So there's many more editors than admins usually. And there is a large group of people who are site visitors, and that basically makes everyone who is visiting your site, including both editors and admins. So more people can use it, more useful feature it is. And just to somehow measure it, I used score 1 to 5 for each of these criteria, and total score for all of them is the average of these 3 criteria. So let's go to the features. What is my methodology to select which actually are my best. And let's go straight to the 5th place, which actually I created a table of all the features in 5.0, rated them, and what has come to my 5th place is are actually 2 features. I couldn't really decide which one of them is more important, so I chose both of them. And the first one is smart search in forums. As you can see, it isn't really something that would save you time, because previously there was SQL search, which you could use to search in forums. So the feature was available, but just wasn't that advanced. People who are affected by this feature are actually site visitors, almost all of them, because usually most of the site visitors somehow participate in the forums if you have some community site. And the overall value is also very big, because with powerful search, you can get here for much more effective than usually. And the second one on the same level, on the fifth place, is the UI personalization. If you look at my ratings for it, it basically affects only editors. So it doesn't really get that much points on people. It may somehow save them some time, because the less options they have, the more intuitive the UI is. And the overall value, it's not really a functional feature, but from its nature, it basically brings the value in being able to limit editors to what they can do. So these are the two features on the fifth place, and I decided that I'll let you know which feature is on which place, and then I'll show you where you can find them and what options are available for them. So let's go to the project. What I have here is actually just simple standard installation, just with more sites. I installed our standard corporate website, community website, and e-commerce website. I will usually use the e-commerce and community for showing you some specific things, but I'm using corporate website to show you the main details of features. So with these two features, with forum search, it isn't really something that I would need to somehow program. So you just need to go to examples under our corporate website, and under those examples you have either the SQL search, which is the old search for forums, or actually I meant here for forums, so the standard forum search, or the smart search for forums. So from the live perspective, from the live site perspective, it looks the same way how the old search looks, but you have the new options where you can get the relevancy of the results, and basically everything else works the same as the old search, but it is much faster. So this is about smart search of forums, and if you look at the administration, you basically manage them the same way how you manage the indexes for documents. If you create a new index, you select that the index type is based on forums. And if you look at existing index, you can see that similar to document types, you basically select which forums it covers. So it isn't really complicated, and it can give you much more flexibility with a forum search. The UI personalization feature is much more interesting because it brings many new possibilities to the entire user interface. Basically, if you have the CMS desk, previously you could somehow limit users to use entire modules, but now you can limit them to use just specific features. I think I'll show you first how it looks like from the end user perspective. So we have some user called Andy, who is predefined in the default installation. And if I log in as Andy Jones, you can see some of the UI parts are missing. So Andy cannot see the administration section, he cannot see the design section, and if he goes to properties, you can see he also can see only some parts of the properties, and even if he goes further, then on some tabs he's missing some sections in there. If I open the same thing as another user, as the admin, then you can very clearly see the difference. So if I am there as an admin, he can see the path of the document, some extended properties, and editation of the document aliases, while Andy can see only the path properties. As the administrator, I can very easily go to the administration, select UI personalization. I can tell you my Andy user, Andy Jones, is in CMS basic users role, and I'll look what options does he have for content, and you can see he sees page tab, form tab, properties tab. On the properties tab he sees URLs, and I can just allow him to see more by checking the box. And if I refresh the page, you can see was online updated, and Andy now can see much more. Well, not much more in this example, but if you allow him to see more, he can see more. So this is basically about UI personalization settings, about some basic settings. Of course, you can create a new role and assign the role with the permissions. For example, here you can see our basic users do not have any permission access to sections of administration. They, if you look at the main menu, at the CMS desk menu, he doesn't see the administration section itself, but in case he would see it, if I refresh it as Andy, he still doesn't have the permission to go to administration. So he may see the section, but he needs to be assigned with more permissions to see it. So the security model is still applied. This is about showing different sections, different parts of UI. There's more you can do with it. If you, as the administrator, go to Site Manager, you can actually, if you go, for example, here to main CMS desk menu, you can actually modify the existing user interface definition. So here you can see there is the content section with some specific page used, My Desk, Tools, Administration. But I can very easily either move them to change the order. So you can see the content is now second. And I can also create new elements. So I'll, for example, I need my users to search often on Google. So I'll just add the tab pointing to Google. Oh, and of course I created the element, so I need to assign my role, my basic user role to it. And here you go, you have your own Google tab. Again, I can change the order, so I can very easily move it up and put it on just any place I can. The nice thing is that I can do the same with the pages in the level below. So I'll just edit a different module. I'll go to module content, display its user interface, and again I'll just add the same. In there. And again I'll just assign this to my Andy user in here in the administration. There you go. And if Andy goes there, he gets the Google page here. And you can do the same in just any content tab, in any with any CMS desk header tab, and basically modify the UI by yourself. There's a lot of options in there. I do not want to go through all of them. basically if you look at the modules and what are their options, specifically content has many more. So basically you can limit the permissions, things displayed in design mode very easily. You can even restrict users to only being able to modify the ad hoc templates by not allowing to modify the shared templates, and other interesting thing. I think we do not have that much time to go through this, so I'll just skip this and go next to the next place on my list. So the next place, the first place with 2.7 total points, are new debug options. Now this is what I mentioned. It is a thing you usually do not see. It is very important for the developer, especially if the developer wants to optimize the website. And basically the optimization is what can save you time in solving things. That's why I chose to rate it 3 points just for saving time. Oh, sorry. There you go. Because if you can optimize faster, you can basically work faster. There are not that many people affected by this feature because this is basically what admin does, but the overall value is very great because having a better website, having the website perform better is basically what can save you costs on your hardware, can save you cost on your network infrastructure. So the overall value, I believe, is great. So what the new debug options are about: there is a new security debug in there, new request debug. I'll show you the details right away. You can even see which threads are currently running. By these threads I mean detached threads from requests. You can see the output of the pages without needing to somehow capture the network traffic, which is very useful when you work with AJAX interfaces. And also you can see the cached items right away. So previously you could see what is in the cache, which keys are in the cache. Now you can even see which objects are there with which data. So if I go back to the project, and if you go to administration, there is this debug tab, which is there by default, but it doesn't show you all the options. By default, you need to go to your web project, and you can either use localized settings for each debug on its own. So you can basically say CMS debug cache, for example, which is useful if you want to debug only some things. But because this demo is basically showing all debugs, there is a new setting that basically says debug everything, and basically sets the defaults for debug for every debug settings. I'll describe the debug options in details sometimes later in some webinar. So I recommend you, if there's a webinar on debug, you should attend it. I'll just show you the basic options here. So basically, if you enable debug of all requests, you can have access to the counts of the objects who are in memory. You can see the cache items as usually, but you can also see the cache access, basically which page used which cache, or if I display some page, I'll display it from this context on a live site. You can see that, for example, this home page added something to the cache, and unlike the previous version, you can just click here and view it. This is not an object that could be used with data, but if I look at something else like this page info, you can see exactly what is in the cache. So this is how you can tag the cache. It was available previously, but without the view option. You can see the SQL queries, which were called by specific pages. So this is again what was available before. You can see the view state, same in here. You could see it before with 4.1. And the new options are in the output cache, where you basically see the output HTML that went to client. And there is one very important debug, specifically if you somehow tweak UI personalization. You can enable security debug and basically see what happened, why the user isn't seeing something. So basically you can see the results from the security checks and from which context they were called in UI. And basically here you can see Andy wasn't determined as a global administrator, which is correct. So in order to basically allow him to access all polls, I can either assign him as global administrator or give him some permissions to the modules. Another debug is the request debug, where I can basically see how the request processed, how specific parts of the request, how much time they took. You can also see the entire result, so basically the response code. So in this case you can see there was some get file in action, and it was cached by client, so the server just returned not modify. You can see the cookies, so if you need to solve some problems and you need to, you are asked basically by our support to send them some cookies, you can send them from here. And also you will see some basic information about the request, basically some browser information, like which page referred, that specific URLs, things like that. So this is what you can see how requests performed. And you can also see the detached threads, the tasks that run in the background for you. For example, if you, I don't know, were on the index of the smart search index, you will see that the thread is working basically like this. I can run several working threads, and you can see each of these threads is running for 5 testing seconds, so I can just run some and see that this is working. Basically what they do is sleep, so the status is basically sleeping. But in case you know something is eating your performance, there can be some scheduled task which is running detached thread in there. So this is why I think basically that the debug options are very useful, and that's the reason why why they are on my first place. The next place, the bronze medal with 3.0 points, are actually our scalability improvements. Again, this is something that doesn't really save time, because you know, it's just about the amount of data you will need to handle, so it isn't really something you would somehow develop. Basically this is a core feature of the UI of the entire system, but the value is great because it allows you to build large projects and basically manage data more effectively if you have so much more records than usual projects have. And it doesn't have to seem like that, but it usually affects everyone, because if you have website, I don't know, if you build your own Facebook on Kentico, it can be millions of people who basically are affected by the system being able to handle such number of users. So it isn't really something you can see, but it affects everyone on the web, including the visitors. So that's basically why the total mark is 3.0 points. It affects a lot of people, and the overall value is also great. What this includes mainly the performance improvements in the UI. So basically the UI you see, even if you have millions of records in database, it works fine. And it also includes some new selectors which are closely connected to this, because if you have million users in database, you need to be able to select from them effectively. We'll look at it anyway. And important thing is we just do not say that Kentico have this scalability improvements. We tested this. Our database had about 65 gigabytes, so you bet that we tested it properly. If you look again to the user interface, I'll show you basically the only visible part of it are the selectors. So for example here, what I can do in my installation, I have only 3 sites, but basically what I can do is I can go to template properties and imagine I would have several thousands of websites. What I can do with 5.0, I can very easily click add sites. Just need to allow the pop-up windows. So I can very easily go, I get the selector for the sites, where I can either, let's say this page template is assigned to corporate and e-commerce sites, and it's done. Or of course, if I have thousands of websites, I do not want to check each of them, so I can very easily click select all, and it will select all my websites. And of course I can do deselect all, and it will deselect all of them. So even if I have thousands of websites, I can very easily assign new template to them. And same is with just any relationship. I can do the same if I go to administration. And let's see, if I go to users, well actually, I'm editing the wrong role. I need to edit in here. So I can basically say add all users to this role, which basically is actually a great time saver, but not from the developer point of view. It's more from the user's point of view, so I didn't include this in my ratings. And you can basically do all this, all the objects, and even if you have millions of them, you can very easily filter them. You have the filter available, and even if you select some more complex objects, you have additional filters in there. So that's the basic UI experience change in 5.0 from the scalability point of view. Let's go to my second and silver place. My silver place are the content improvements. I didn't want to just select each of them separately and rate them, because the content section as itself has a great value for editors. So basically I took all the minor changes in the content section and named them content improvements and rate them separately. They are a great time saver just because of their nature. Basically, if you can work with multiple documents, if you can do bulk operations, you can save your editors a lot of time. Another thing, if you do not need to go over several dialogues to just move the document, or click several times to move down on the document to move it, to the, I don't know, next to last place in the T, you save a lot of time to the site editor. And you can do this very easily with drag and drop in content. You can move documents, copy documents, even link them. So basically you save the time when doing these operations with documents. And the next feature included in this group of features is the version comparison. The version comparison basically allows you to more effectively work with workflow. Basically, if some news or anything is under approval, then it's usually sent to somebody to approve it, and when it gets back, you just make smaller changes to it and send it back to approval. But in case you know the document is long and your approval manager, or how you name the person, CEO maybe, if he doesn't want to read it from the scratch, he can very easily see the comparison of two versions and basically check only the changes. So how it works? If you look at the documents, I just quickly set up the workflow on news, and if I go to my first news, I can view the version and very simply compare it, for example, to the first version. So in this case, if you read the text, you could guess what I changed. If I compare it to the next version, you can see that Kentico rocks, which is true, and the transformation can be chosen not by web developer, but by any developer. And I also changed this boring city image to this nice koala image. So you can very easily see the changes, what has changed. I did some versions and tried it, so you can see what I did in time. I did the image change as the last version. So this is about the versions comparison. And about the other features, I told you can do bulk operations. So let's say you have I don't know, a list of news and you want to copy some of them to different locations, so you just check them, or you may select all documents if you want to select, if you want to just do the action with all of them, and you can select the action. If you are a global administrator, or if you have the manage workflow permission, you can even publish or archive the documents as a bulk operation. But at this time, I'll just copy them to the same section. So I get the copy dialog, and again, I want to copy them to the same section. If they would have some child documents, I can copy the child documents also, or exclude them. And you can basically see which documents will be copied to the news. I copy them, and when it's done, I have 4 news instead of original 2. Of course, I can very easily delete them, so these are my new documents, and I'll just delete them all. I'll destroy them. They are using workflow, but I won't need to destroy them. So the very same way you can move documents, copy documents, publish documents, link documents, basically all these operations with them. So this is the bulk operations. It is very handy if you have a large number of documents, or if you need to somehow restructure the website based on some design changes. And the next very useful operation is the drag and drop in content tree. You don't need to go anywhere. You just have the tree and you can drag and drop the items. So let's say in this example, if I look at the live site, I can see this is my menu according to the content tree. And let's say I want to move the services between company and blocks. So I take the services, move them between company and blocks, just refresh the live site. Oh, it's probably cached, so I'll need to do this in preview. So I have the services between company and blocks. So it was very easy to do this. I can even move the documents around, copy them or so. So let's say I'll create a copy of the products section. You can see the hint. By default it says move here. But if I press the Ctrl button on my keyboard, it changes to copy here. So very easily, Ctrl and drag and drop, I can copy things over. So I'll just copy this. This requires some approval, because it may be difficult operation and you should approve this. So I'll copy all the products with the child documents, yes. So it will copy the products over. Here we go. So now we have the two same product sections. And I can work further. I can move, let's say, my cell phones and the PDAs. And it's done. And I didn't mention it yet. There is not only copy and move. If you press Ctrl and Shift together while dragging the item, it changes, the hint changes to link. So basically you can very easily create links just by moving items around. Okay, so I want to link this Samsung cell phone also here. It asks me if I really want to do this, yes, and it's linked. So this way, if I define the structure, if I'm using the link documents, I want to link it here, and it's done. So it's very easy to manage the documents, manage the structure of the website using drag and drop. And basically all these things really save time to your editors and basically make the system more friendly. So it is very useful, and that's why I put it on my second silver place in my top 5. And the first place, the gold medal, the winning place, belongs to the great feature of widgets. And this is for several reasons. Basically, widgets, if you would want to somehow use the widgets, program them by your own, allow the site visitors only to edit their home pages, it would take you very much time, basically. It is very hard to implement, you need to handle all the JavaScripts, which features or which widgets are available in there, how it should look like, and things like that. So it really saves you time if you need the widgets functionality. With 5.0, you have it out of the box. It can affect just anyone because, iGoogle, other services that allow you to personalize your homepage. That basically includes all the site visitors, basically anyone who visits your website. So it really affects just anyone. And specifically our widgets not only affect the site visitors, because these widgets include also some special widgets for the editors. So basically editor can work similar way how the site visitor can. And something similar, not from the CMS desk perspective, but from the live site perspective, the group admin can modify the specific pages that belong to group. This means the community group. I don't mean the forum groups. So community group administrator can modify the community group page using widgets. The overall value, it's based basically if you need it or not. If you need it, the value is great for you. If you don't need it, it's just another feature you don't need, but it's good to have such option always. So let's look how the widgets work. I'll just quickly check the time. I think we have some, but still I'll try to make this somehow brief. If you look at our corporate website, in the example section you can find my homepage page. If I go to the live site, probably, let's say, I will log out, and if I go to the example section in here, I can see the default widgets. I may be able to modify them, but I need to be logged in, because this basically the page needs to know to which user the modified widgets belong. So I'll just log in as just any user. So in this case I'll use my Silver partner account. By the way, speaking about the live site, I forgot to mention that all these debugs, if you configure it to debug on live, it shows you the online information from all the debugs at the bottom of the page. So you can see all the queries, you can see all the cache accesses, view states, security checks, and the additional information about the request. But back to my widgets. If I go to my home page, I'm logged in as the Silver partner, and I can just move widgets around, delete them. Basically, I get the same functionality as you get if, for example, I Google or anything else. So at this point, I'll delete this one, or I'll minimize this one. So if I am the Silver user, I get this view. Of course, I can add some widgets either by clicking on this special add widget link, or just by clicking to the zone. So for example, I'll add another clock like this. And if I sign out, if I am a different user, I still can see the default widgets. But if I go back again, if I log in again as Silver, I get my settings like this. So this is not non-standard personalization. This is the same you can use, you are used to with other web services, but you can have it now very easily on your website. So this is from the visitor perspective. You have something similar from the editor perspective. So if you are an editor, you can go to the home page, and if you are in the edit mode, on the page tab, you can see some additional actions. You are typically used to see this select clear buttons, being able to modify this editable region, but with widgets you can pretty much configure the entire page based on what the site admin, the design, allows you in the design mode. We'll go to that the other way. So basically you can do the same with global things, global widgets. I put it on the wrong place. Okay, so let's see. I want to have the newsletter subscription on the right side. I do not want to have the latest news, like this. And as an editor, I do not need to go to design mode. I have only a predefined set of widgets I have available for usage. And from the visitor perspective, if I go to the home page, I see the page the way editor created it. So it's very easy. In case I would create another page based on same template, which is homepage with top image and 3 columns. So I'll just create another home, and it should be this template. Oh, I should have created. Oh, here you can see basically that if you create the document on the wrong location, you just use drag and drop to move it to the right location, like this. So this is where I wanted it to be. And now I use the same template, but because I'm using the same template, I am using the default set of widgets. So I get the original template view, while the original home is modified by the specific editor. The difference is basically that the editor sees the context of the document, but if I go there to the design mode as an administrator, I can see the context of the default page template, so I can see the default settings for the widgets. As an editor, what I can do is I can click here. Let me see here. You can just reset your modified widgets to default and get the default widgets, default settings from design mode. Basically, I wanted to show you another thing in the design mode, how easy it is to set the widgets, to make them available. It doesn't really differ from standard design mode you are used to. What you do is you just set some specific zone properties. So you click on the context menu and the zone, go to zone properties, and you have you have the options. Either use standard zone with no customization, which are the zones like this without any image in its title. Then you have the availability to let the zone being personalized by user. I'll show you how it looks in design mode on my home page. You can let it to be customized by page editor, like these ones, which means this is that icon, and they can be customized by group administrator. I'll show you on our community site how it looks like. The important thing is if you change the group of the users, you will lose all the default web parts or default widgets in it, because basically there are some security precautions on them that need to validate that only specific widgets can be used. But if you do not change the zone type, of course the widgets will stay there. So basically the zone type is determined by this image, and you can see if you are in the design mode, even if I take and drag the widget from one zone, I can only put it to the zone with same type. So I can only drag from editor to editor zone. I cannot drag over to the zone which is not allowed for widgets. So this is another security measure. So this is the editor zone. This can be customized. The widgets can be customized on the page tab. For the end user, the zones have the user icon in them. You can see there is selected that they allow user personalization, and the user personalization takes place on the live site. So unless you are on the live site, you see the default widgets, and you cannot modify them. But if you are on the live site, you can personalize your page as a site visitor. Okay, so I am now logged in as administrator. So as administrator, I want to have my clock in the middle area. But still, if I look at the preview, what others see, they by default see the default configuration of widgets. And similar it is for the group administrators. If I go to my community site, to the content, you can see this multiple users means group zone. It is configured to be customized by group administrator. And if I go to the live site, And if I go to some group, let's say to the efficient travelers, oh, I'm already logged in there. So let's say I'm not logged in. So I'm on the efficient travelers as a visitor. Here's what I can see. I can see group admin is Tessie, so I'll just log in as Tessie. And you can see I have these additional actions here. I can add new widgets, I can modify existing widgets in here. So let's say I want to, again, so it's simple, add a clock for my visitors. So I added the clock and I'll just move it to the top of the page so we can see it better. There we go. And now if I go to the same page as another user, I can see the page. Oh, actually I just joined as a global administrator, so I'm able to modify any group, but if I am some anonymous user who is not admin or some other user like Abby, I'm not able to modify it because I'm not the group administrator. So you can allow even site visitors modify the widgets for different users, different visitors on your community sites. So this is basically about widgets. You can see widgets are not only from the site visitor perspective, it is all about editors, it is all about group administrators and their options, and that's why widgets have so big value for me, because it basically moves the development or moves the possibilities of the website to entirely different levels. I forgot to mention how you make a widget. Basically widgets are based on web parts, so let's say in here, if you want to create a new widget, you should know on which web part you want to base it. If you go to widgets, you can see some of the settings. Let's say just wondering how the clock widget works. Basically, any widget from Google can be pretty much done based on static text web part, because static text web part basically gives you the ability to insert HTML code, which is what basically Google widgets are. And how it looks like, basically this clock widget has just some HTML code set to default value of the static text web part it is based on. And if you want to create some new widget, let's say I want to create new widget, I need to select on which web part it is based, and I'll base it on static text again. I'll name it greetings, and I'll just save the name, and I'll say that my greetings web part will, by default, all attributes are hidden. You need to select which attributes should be shown for widgets and with which controls. So basically I'll say I do not want to display any of the attributes, but I want to have the text attribute as follows. So I'll make it a heading. I'll just use some value in it. If you know macros, you know what I'm doing. I'm using the data macro to evaluate the full name of current user. I'll save it, and now I should be able to put the widget on the website, but I first need to select in which zones it can be used. So let's say this widget can be used in editor zones and maybe also in group zones, because I want to show this as group admin. Now here I am the group admin, and I should be able to add this greetings widget. There is no additional configuration available for me, and you can see this widget is showing hello, I'm in test home. Again, just move it to the top. So you just allowed your group admin to enter, to insert basically the dynamic gatings without allowing to access just any other parts of the system that would somehow compromise your security. And as the visitor of the website, you can see it changed to the appropriate full name of the user. So this is basically how you build widgets. If you want to, for example, I don't know, create a list of articles like this one, you can basically see this one is based on repeater web part. It has many properties, but only some of them are set. Basically, the default value for class names is CMS articles, and I believe the end user has available only the top N items property, where he can just put the number of items. So it's very easy to manipulate. You basically have web part and widget based on it. There would be much more you can do with widgets, but I believe the time is over, so I think I'll leave this to some of the detailed webinars. But basically what you can do is if you basically design the website correctly, you can create a virtual hosting environment where each user can own the site and basically do the changes without affecting anyone else. And this is basically what I have for this webinar. If you have some questions, then I will answer them. Just type them into question window. So Thomas?
Thanks. Yep. Thanks, Martin. This was a great presentation. I hope everyone enjoyed it. The only question that I really see, if you could answer it quickly, is for debugging. Should we set debugging to false before we deploy our applications for speed improvements?
Oh, definitely. If you mean our debugging, these keys, definitely remove it. Or if you put the site live, because as standard debug, it has some overhead. So definitely remove it. This should be used only in cases you really need this, and only in time you really need this. So just remove any debug for a live site, because it can give you better performance. And definitely, as suggested by .NET engineers, you should of course disable the default debug in the compilation section.
Okay.
As always.
Excellent. All right. Well, thanks everyone for attending today. We hope that you enjoyed it. Please let us know as we look to schedule our next one in the second quarter. We're trying to finalize the dates, but we'd love to hear any ideas you have on topics or things you'd like to talk about for the Kentico Online CMS user group. With that, I want to once again thank Martin for presenting today, and I think we'll go ahead and sign off. Martin, any final words?
I would like to thank to all attendees that they paid attention